So, and they use materials, that's what he liked about it. So when we're done with that, then we decide what we wanted to hear. This is all in the-
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is it 4 o'clock on that clock?
30 seconds.
Okay,
Close enough.
close enough. Okay, would you guys like to get started?
Here's the clock ringing.
It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
Perfect. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from last month's meeting? Oh, I think I lost audio. I can't hear any discussion.
We haven't said nothing.
Oh, okay, no answer. Okay. Is there
Yeah,
any
dead
discussion?
silence. You couldn't read our lips.
Right? Any discussion on the minutes from May 8th?
I have a point on number 4. It says Jacobson did not want the area to become a memorial area. I don't believe Jacobson said that. So if I did, that wasn't my sentiment. I'll discuss it a little bit more on the old business. Verify.
So would you like that removed from the minutes?
That'd be nice.
That's Lynn's.
That's your shirts. That's your shirt she has in the bag.
Okay.
I'll make
Any
a
other-
motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, so making a motion to approve the minutes with the redaction of, by the request of Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. All in agreement?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Any visitor comments?
Nobody here.
Nobody here? Okay. Moving on to new business.
Can you hear me, Dana?
Oh, yes, I can.
Real quick before we move on, I talked to Kathy and for the new applicant, there was not an official motion, second and vote, so we need to do that.
Okay, so we just had this, okay. I'm sorry, I thought we had done that. Call
But
it
there was not
discussion.
an official motion, yeah.
Okay, so would anyone like to make an official motion to approve the new Parks Commissioner that we had discussed at the last meeting, Brian Long?
Point of order, I think what we had agreed previously is that whoever interviews the candidate, if they approve of them, then they're automatically approved. That's the understanding that I had.
But we still need to make a motion and second to move it forward.
Well, the other new person we had on here, the selection committee did it, and I didn't find out till the next meeting on who it was. We never voted on that person as a group.
It doesn't matter.
I
I
think,
just want to keep continuity.
I think we need to vote on it as,
There's a city resolution that tells you what you need to do. for that.
So I went to Kathy right before the meeting, so.
Yeah, no, I meant for the resolution on, we didn't get to decide and all the discussion that's going on. That'll clear things up.
then I don't know what the rules say, but once the person's been presented, I think the commission should vote on it. That was my impression.
We can vote on it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why I had brought it to everyone at the last meeting and we had the discussion and I thought we had voted on it. And so my apologies if we had skipped that step. I just got a notice from Kathy today that had not been done. And so we just need to make an official vote. That's all.
Yeah, we need to follow the order because like I say, at the time before, the selection committee collected, voted on it. And it was a done deal and it never came in front of the rest of the people for that person.
I'm actually was out on that.
You know, so we've got two different standards here. For some reason, the selection committee, it was brought back to the board. And the time before, the selection committee made the selection out of what, they had two people selected and we never knew till it was done and who it was. So what is the order this is supposed to happen?
Clarify that, but let's just move ahead with
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just got notified from Kathy today that we need to make an official motion and everyone vote on it, and then we can move it forward to council for approval. And so is there someone who would like to make that motion?
Make a motion to approve the gentleman that, I don't remember his name.
Brian Long.
Brian Long for the Parks and Trails Commission.
Any second?
Yeah, we got a second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is in
Okay,
right.
great.
Would that mean then though, right now, since we're down by two members, that we would have, if there's more than two people in a position at one time, that could be considered a quorum?
Currently, I
Or it
believe,
was three
or th-
and we've lost another person, so would that mean it's two now?
No, it was four before, now it'd be three.
no, it was three before we, well, no, because it's back to the ratio that it was at, when Lauren was on. So it's three right now, because if we vote and approve him, it should be three. And I'm not sure when it drops down again, excuse me.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so he's been voted and approved. If we could pass that on to city council, please.
Got it.
Thank you. All right, so then with the resignation of Lauren, that does open up a new position on the commission. And she just declined for personal reasons. And so I'd like to segue that right into number 3 with commission recruitment. And so right now, how many are we down? 2 people on the commission?
Oh, just one.
We replaced one, yeah.
We have 9. So there's Paul. 7.
I thought we were
Yeah,
down
two.
one.
Yeah.
The new guy, we're down one.
We're down one.
Okay, so we've put out the notice for an opening in the Parks Commission, but I'd like to talk a little bit with you guys to see if we can brainstorm some ideas for commission recruitment as we are looking to fill at least one more seat and get people interested in joining the commission, so that if there are any of us who would like to step down at any point too, we are more easily able to fill those chairs. And so do you guys have any ideas or have any input you'd like to put there regarding recruiting some commissioners for the parks?
Could advertise in the Chronicle.
We do.
Yeah.
You can have a booth at Citizens Day.
We are going to have a booth at Citizens Day.
People out there,
Yeah,
people that are interested in the parks will probably talk to you, so bring it up.
that's the best one. Is to talk about it, citizens stay in the park.
Awesome. Great. And then well, we'll talk about that with Citizens Day a little bit lower down below. Any other ideas? And this is just really brainstorming and just putting it out there to see if you guys, know of anybody who is excited and would like to participate in the city, especially in the parks. It'd be great to have some more people who are willing to put some energy into the commission, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay. Any other comments on that topic before we move on?
Well,
I don't know if maybe this is the time or not, but. I think we should go back to the old way of interviewing the candidates. So that way all of us get to meet them and. Determine, some of us might have questions that other ones don't have, or. Someone misses or stuff like that.
I think it's all by resolution, so we
That's
cannot
right.
do that.
Yeah, it's city
Like it.
resolution, past resolution.
Used to
then I
All
would-
the time, and
Yeah, there's.
now, but this guy that we brought in, I know nothing about, and whoever was not part of that committee knows nothing about.
So we all received his application. And then we had the interview, and then I felt it was important to bring that interview discussion to the rest of the commission, which we did at the last meeting. And we had time to discuss him. And those three from the interview committee were given the opportunity to express whether or not they wanted to bring him on and why. Because that was what I felt would be the most appropriate plan of action, considering the fact that the rest of the commission members were not able to be present for the interview. I'm doing my best to follow what I'm told we're supposed to follow for those types of policies. And so I agree with you, though, that it would be great for all of the commission members to be fully informed of the new candidates. And so do you have any other recommendations that you would consider making
So
changes?
I'm just thinking, because there was three of you guys, I think two of you guys liked the person, one was like kind of on the fence.
Yeah,
And so, get other inputs, so now it becomes like, oh, these two are for it, so it's automatic good to go, and you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
right. Which is why another reason why I thought it was great to bring our conversation to the commission as a whole. I would like to see the applicants be invited to the meetings even prior to the interview process, so that we could see them face to face and all the commission members could get to know them.
That's
I'm
what we
not,
used to do.
yeah,
We'd invite them here, we'd ask them, I think everybody would ask them one question, and then they'd leave and we discuss it.
right. But that's not the way that I was told we are to do the interviews now.
The change.
It's by resolution.
I don't think it was not a recent change, so it's something that was.
Yeah, it was.
Ago, but
Well,
most of the other boards and commissions were following that, and this
Well, we
one.
need to see what it is, and make sure we're following it.
yeah, I would imagine you would, because I wasn't very articulate. So
Right, but no, I just remember you came, you sat down and talked to all of us, and we talked to you, and after you left, we made a decision.
Right. And that's how it was when I came on to the commission as well.
Yeah.
And- Yeah.
That's
and-
not that long ago.
no,
Right.
So what Dana's saying, I think that what everyone's saying is we don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice.
Right.
yes, but I mean, we could make a motion that's asking if we can change that resolution to be able to do that. But I don't know how far it'll go.
Yeah, it's a resolution for all boards. Commission.
Right. It's not just particular to the parks.
I know,
Cause I know, we just set the precedence for the last two times that we've done it slightly differently.
Right. Well, and the reason I brought it back to the commission as a whole is because during the interview process for the candidate prior to Brian, I also didn't feel confident or not confident. That's not what I mean. I didn't feel as good about the process of not being able to even know the candidates, see them, discuss them, hear about them. And simply have that decision be made without it being brought to the rest of the commission. So I am trying to do my part to kind of bridge that, keep to the resolution as it is, but also meet those needs of the other commissioners in their wanting to be more informed about the candidates prior to the decision being made official.
Cause it seems a little strange to me that we'd have a group look at it, we vote on it, and then we bring it back to our board to vote on it again, kind of, I mean, it should be one or the other.
I don't know, I just think it's backwards the way we're doing this, but
Yeah,
I don't like it either, Jacob, but.
I just don't know when it changed, so.
about a year ago. I mean,
Yeah.
Morton came in and started.
Actually, it was longer than that, but they continued using the old process until of late. I think the resolution was maybe years ago.
If I remember right, it was stated years ago, so it's something that this commission should have been doing all along, but somewhere things got.
So then once again, does the selection committee have the final vote on that person? Or
The
does it
selection
come back
committee-
to our board?
The selection committee makes the decision, and then you as a commission support their decision or don't support their decision. Which is what happened today. And I would encourage you, you could switch the selection committee up. Every time it could be, I would encourage Dana as the chair to be on it, but different members of the commission could take part in that, and so that everybody feels included.
Is there
Yeah, I
a
think that's great.
number of people that it states?
And I'm not sure.
Because
We decided on 3, and I don't know if that's specified in the resolution or not.
We can clarify that and go from there.
It needed to be less than a quorum, so it's not
Yeah,
a public meeting.
yeah.
Right.
That's why it was just 3, because at that time we were down by 1, so we couldn't have more than 3 people on that committee.
Dana, would you like me to send that resolution out to all the commission members?
Yeah, if you have that, Lynn, that would be great. Thank you.
Regarding the last candidate, the one part of the process that I wasn't particularly comfortable with was just maybe discussing the positive and negative aspects of
Okay,
the individual. So I could see the selection committee coming and saying, we chose this individual because of this. But
okay.
I didn't necessarily like the person who maybe didn't agree with that or didn't see it the same way to have to voice their opinion in public. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but it just seemed a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I had spoken with Glenn about that this week, and I can understand that, and I do apologize for any uncomfortable sensations from that. Definitely wasn't my intention, but I guess that my reasoning behind asking the questions was if she or anybody felt that the candidate wasn't appropriate, why? And but I can understand that, and we can talk as a.
I'm gonna go sleep.
Oh, sorry, somebody else is on. Okay,
Wonder
But for
if you could, write up a summary, without any of the names of what the responses were. That would,
How you
Yeah.
doing?
come up that.
I thought too, one point on the other person, didn't we have to like have our questions figured in advance, and we were supposed to stick directly to only asking X, Y, or Z?
yeah,
And that was the parameters we were given for doing it.
And they all have to be the same question for everyone.
Yeah, and it has to always be the same question for every single person.
now we did have to fill out a comment section on the questionnaires, the questions that we had regarding the candidate. Each 3 of us on the committee had to fill in notes. So is that something that we could then pass out to the other commission members so that they have more of that full discussion? And then that would remove the need to discuss that live during the meeting when we're making the vote for the candidate?
Some of us don't take as good as notes as others, or what is important to them might be something different.
I guess I would like some guidance or, any advice that you guys may have on doing that process in a way that everyone feels really good about, so that we're all well informed. We all feel that we've, made the best decision for the commission, but that we don't make anybody feel uncomfortable, because that's definitely not our intention.
Silence.
Hey,
Other than a summary, I don't see what the best way forward on that would be.
okay,
The old way we used to do it, it was just so
was easier and more, everybody felt like they were a part of the choice instead of just having 3 people decide for everybody. They actually felt like they were part of the committee choice.
Right. Right.
So it
And
made
that-
everybody on the commission kind of like feel like they were all equal. This kind of like subdivides us up into where these 3 are the almighty and everybody else is just the followers.
Mhm.
So Brandon, what do other commissions do you know?
I think it was an effort, to make things consistent, is that everybody follows the same resolution. So,
Well, it depends on who you have in your committee. It could be a popularity contest then. These 3 people like this person, so we're gonna pick this person, where everybody else in the committee don't like that person, so I.
think it's a popularity contest anyway.
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
mhm. The resolutions can be changed, so if you had some suggestions for a better way to do it, then I would
Make a resolution.
something and
I make a motion that we take the city council, we go back to the original way we used to do it.
And say how that is.
an official way of doing it, though.
You all have a copy of the resolution, read it.
Can we put it on the agenda for next
Let's do
month?
that, put it on the agenda.
Yeah, let's
Get
put
a
it,
copy of it.
let's go ahead and move on. I'd like to put that on the agenda for next meeting. I'd like to have a discussion. I'll make a note of that. So for the next meeting, I would like to have a discussion on how you guys would like to obtain what you feel is fully informed content for our new, whoever is the new applicants. And then that way we can hopefully have a solution that feels good for all of us here on this particular commission. In recognition that we, are kind of guided by the resolution. We're not kind of, we are guided by the resolution for the city that is standard across the other commissions.
But we may be able to see if we can modify it. Is that the better way to say it? But we'll have to look.
I don't want to make it onerous for the the candidate because don't have that many candidates right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that too. We need people and
Mm-hmm.
so,
All right, so we'll add that on if that's okay with you.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so let's move on to number 4, grants.
Yeah, I put this on the agenda and Lynn probably has some things she wants to add, but it's okay. Talked to the Kiwanis Club, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so. And a lady approached me, Margaret Trenchard Smith, and she said that, hey, I really like the urban trail concept a lot, she says. And she says, I think that you could get a $2,000 grant pretty easily. And so the question I have, we've kind of,
With the Kiwanis.
no, this is with, I should have probably copied this off, but I just got back Saturday, I've been gone for. But it was the Columbia County Cultural Coalition and
Recommending.
yeah, and she says and part of the Oregon Cultural Trust. But the question I have is what we talked about a couple of times ago. So, I'd like to see this grant applied for. And I haven't talked to the subcommittee, the Urban Trail Subcommittee, but I know that some people up on the hill and my wife and myself, you can't get away from things in a small town. I'd like to see the upper trail, the Wyatt Street Trail. I'd like to see the upper part of that, the upper third where it goes to the real rocky part there improved. And we'd have to probably discuss it. Do we, hire someone to put steps in the rock, which they could probably do with a jackhammer? Or do we maybe have someone, have some type of rail that's along the edge there? Personally, I'd like to see the trail improve first, then maybe later on a rail. But the question I really have is, how are we going to handle grants? Because do we talk to Jennifer about this? I mean, this is the city that needs, because like Lynn was saying, is the city applying for other grants through this one? So the question I have, and the reason I brought this up is, okay, here's a real grant, had one last year in my hand, or a year and a half ago, and I gave it to the city staff and 0 was done on it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so now I have another one that has a little more potential. You know, if they turn us down, they turn us down, but, you know, I'd like to know what the procedure is, you know, if the city has someone, if they're applying for a grant for this organization, you know. And it has higher priority, okay, I'm okay with that. But if they do not have a priority for it, so the question I have is. What's the procedure we're going to use? Because I know Lynn has really worked hard. We have a huge list here and she's worked it, I haven't, well, I worked at one place. And so how are we gonna handle grants? That's my question.
I think a really great first step would be, well, the first step is looking and finding these grants. So thank you guys so very much for all your hard work, because that's a hard one. Then I think the second step would be running them by Jennifer and seeing if that is something that the city would apply for, or they are already utilizing, or they're already interested in. And if not, see what her recommendation would be for us moving forward on the grant. And then we can go from there. I think that would be great.
Okay, then what I would like to do, someone make a motion, I'd like, you know, to have the permission from the commission to approach Jennifer on this grant, to see if she can move forward on
I
it.
don't think you need our permission to do that.
We've got a grant subcommittee.
Yeah.
But I think if we take that to Jenny first, to make sure that it's not stepping on anyone's toes.
Any conflicts?
Take the list.
you
Yeah,
know,
I
just
think that's,
check with her. I don't think you need permission for that.
yeah, I think I agree that the grants.
I think we do, I think that we should be upfront and open, you know, about what we do.
Right, no, I think that's a good thing that you brought it to us, and I don't think you need our permission to take it to
Is it
her.
gonna hurt to get your permission?
No.
No, I mean,
But if let's put it this way, let's say that Lynn or I or whoever went to Jennifer and all of a sudden, oh, this is coming up. Oh, wouldn't it, I know that this commission, wouldn't it be nice if we would have known about that ahead of time?
oh, sure.
That's my point.
I greatly appreciate the information and I fully support it. If it's something that we require to vote on, then by all means, let's vote on it. If it's not a requirement, then unless anyone else is opposed to it, I think I definitely support the next step of moving it on to Jennifer and seeing where it goes.
We can
Yeah,
vote.
you know, I think it was March that Jennifer came and gave us a draft of the steps that were needed to do this. And at the same meeting, we approved having a grants subcommittee. So that subcommittee can then call and make an appointment with Jennifer and say, we have a list of grants that we would like to use for the Oregon, or the urban trail and whatever else. Are there any we should not apply for because it's the city has already made an application?
Okay, yeah, great. And so if you guys are ready to make that step and take that list to her.
I agree with everything Lynn said, but my understanding is that Jennifer is the one who's gonna put together the grant. Or that the subcommittee.
Good.
It could be, you've got to talk to Jennifer, and it depends on how big it is, what the details are, what they're asking for in the grant, because you have to answer questions. You know,
Correct.
on these particular grants, and you need to know the wording on them. I did one a while back for $100,000 and it was very technical. So you had to follow exactly what they were asking and know the words to use for that. So
Right.
so you'd be working with Jennifer.
I think what she came up with was, because you guys were asking permission to go out and try to get grants. And I think it was kind of, well, let's talk about it before you dive into one to make sure it's not conflicting with anything the city's currently got going. And if it's not super complex and you feel it's something you can handle, then she might give you her blessing and say, go for it. I think that's kind of what, the way it went down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would start with Jenny and hopefully it goes smooth and you go from there.
But what Jerry was saying is that he brought something forward a year and a half ago and still hadn't received a response.
Yeah, but I didn't take that to Jennifer, you know, I'm not putting any blame on Jennifer. That was not the channel that we went through.
And that was
So let's-
doing-
So let's try that first then. I fully support you guys taking these options that you have to Jennifer and seeing what she says. And then we can move forward from there. If it's something that the grant subcommittee can begin working on following her recommendation, then I support that movement as well. If it's something that she would then take over or that the city would do on our behalf, then that's great also.
Some of that raises a question we've done twice already with the Portland Garden Club. Small grant for uphill, and we're talking about now, we think we're gonna apply again in the beginning of next year for to do some spot spraying for blackberries and stuff in Nob Hill Nature Park. So in the past, we always just, their form is much more simple to fill out. And Caroline were able to do it, and we got Jenny's permission to go ahead and do it. And then we just have the grantor write a check to the city, and it got in a special account for Nob Hill, so.
Pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah, very simple. So I'm here to say we're gonna be doing that. I don't know what other formalities. I
See,
need
with
to
this
talk
one,
to
you probably
guys
have
about
to,
it.
you'd have to get a contract, you know, it's a little more, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it's a small grant, you'd still have to get a.
Uh,
Okay, Lynn, do you want to say anything about?
I just add Howard's comment.
I just did.
Okay, we're good with that.
I would just add, now that we do have a grant subcommittee, I would think it would be important to run that through them.
Okay.
Just make sure they're included in that and.
Okay. Any further discussion on grants?
Me too.
Thank you, guys. Then I'll research this a little bit more and then I'll talk to Jennifer,
Awesome.
probably Lynn before I do that.
Okay, great. And then who's all, will you please remind me who's all on the grant subcommittee right now?
Jerry, Lynn and I.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right.
Just waiting
Any
for
more
you.
discussion on grants before we move on to Sand Island? Nope. Okay. Sand Island.
So if I keep this short and sweet, 2 years ago or so, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, there was a contract made between the city and Mr. Henderson. And I know a year or so ago, he was gonna come and talk to us and that never happened. So I would like to know, you know, I know that there's quite a bit, looks like there's a lot of construction going over there. And I would like a report either from Mr. Henderson maybe come or Brandon on, you know, what's happening at Sand Island, so we know what's happening there. And two, I'd also like to know the financial agreement that we have. I've asked for that. I know it's probably open. I could probably go to the city and say, hey, what's going on? But I'd prefer it to be, you know, maybe Brandon could research it and say, okay, for every campsite, you know, the city gets $1 or whatever it is. I'm really for Mr. Henderson doing this because I think it's cleaned up the park a lot. You know, it's cut down on the fights. It's brought people into the town. I think it's a good thing, but as a commission, we've never, oversight too, but we've never been really told, you know, all the agreements to that. And I would like to, you know, I'd like maybe Brandon to come and just, you know, okay, this is what Mr. Henderson's doing on the island. This is the agreement we have with the city. It lasts for 5-10 years and he has the option to renew it for another 10 years or whatever. I think what he's doing there is good, the shuttle and all that thing, but I just think we should know what's happening. So, you know, I don't know if this is a motion or not, but I'd like to see, you know, maybe Commissioner Sundin, you know, give us a rundown, a brief on, you know, what's happening at Sand Island.
I like your idea too. I think it would be appropriate to have Brad come, maybe even annually, once a year, and just give us a recap of this is what's going on, this is what we intend to do. I've had similar concerns that I look over there at Sand Island and I see things being built and never heard there was gonna
Building
be,
yurts.
I never heard things were gonna be.
Never came to
built,
us
so,
that they were gonna build yurts on the island.
I agree. I think anything major alterations to the island, it is a city park, so I think it should come through the Parks Commission, or at least should be informed about what's going
And
on.
we were never really told the agreement, I asked for that when it first happened, I know that, and I didn't care if it was a sweetheart deal or not, because Sand Island was such a. An eyesore and a problem for the city, I mean, Buck, you can't take care of it, I mean, we don't have the resources to do that, and I think it's helped, but, so. I don't know, where do we go from here, do we end it here, no one shows up, or are we gonna try to get?
I think if you just talk to Brad, he'd be more than willing to do it. He likes to spark interest in it, and if, I think he wouldn't have a problem with.
Yeah, I think.
Giving you an annual report, a biannual report, that's just my take on the guy.
Sure.
He's pretty stand up.
Yeah, I think, from what I've met him a few times, but, I prefer that, Commissioner, City Councilman Sundin do that, where it comes from, someone with some authority.
Any points you want to use today?
I can request that.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you so much. Any further discussion on Sand Island? No? Okay, moving on to tourism.
Okay, I get to complain again.
There's a roll. Goodness, you not me this time.
Well, this has been discussed quite a few times. I was told. I can't remember exactly who, but by city staff or commissioners that. For something to be considered tourism, there had to be a ticket. There had to be money, direct money passing hands. I have not agreed with that for several reasons. Like one, 13 nights. I don't know if tourism puts very much money into that or not. But, it brings.
If I can just interject right here, 13 nights actually is, from what I understand from Tina, she told me it's being paid for by the Halloween Town monies that come from that. It's actually an expenditure by tourism for 13 nights.
Okay, so, okay, you got what was said there, so, Tina's using money that she gets from Halloween Town to, pay for 13 nights. So 13 nights is considered probably a tourist attraction. I know people come from all over to go to 13 nights. And there's not a ticket sold there. I know last year when they had Halloween Town, I was down here when there was the witches doing their dancing and things like that. And, there wasn't a ticket, sold for that. And it's just, you guys, I'm always on the urban trail and parks and things like that. If they're going to use a park for. So my point is that, if there's an urban trail, there's going to be people coming from all over the region to use that trail, which is a tourist attraction. And so I would, I would like to see the definition of, what is considered tourism and what is not, because I think the city's already doing that with, with 13 nights and some of the events that are taking place at Halloween Town. They're not selling tickets, and there's a lot of people coming to see those things. That's my take on that. Because I'd like to see some money, maybe like I know in Howard's case, he'd like to see some money from tourism to go to Nob Hill Park because it's used, and I understand there's quite a bit of money made through that particular activity. So, I'd like to see that readdressed.
So one thing that I would like to see, and this is a good point too, maybe if you guys would like to discuss at our next meeting, it's been kind of on the back of my mind. We discussed it a little bit, I don't know, maybe a year ago, regarding the fees and usage for the parks for some of these events. And so now that was when Shauna was on and everything was gone through her as the staff. And so I would like some clarity as far as who's in charge, or who, as far as the fees for the usage and whatnot, who's, because we don't even get those updates anymore for the parks, since all that was run through Shauna. And so when we're talking about receiving money from tourism per se, right, for utilizing the different parks for their events, the clearest avenue is through those fees for usage. And so I would like to take some time to go over the those agreements, what the monetary amounts currently are, and then maybe have a discussion on whether or not those need to be updated.
So Dana, this is Lynn, what about asking Tina to come to our next meeting and have that on the agenda so she can talk about that?
Is it appropriate to look at the actual, like what the actual contracts are for the usage for our parks? Because I feel like that's also a separate issue. Not that I would love to have Tina come and discuss that as well, but just getting our head straight regarding what the actual terminology is for the contracts, what the actual costs are to utilize the parks for the different usages, and whether or not those.
You're talking about like special use permits, field reservation, items like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have just recently, well, since I've been on board, we just recently went through every page and every letter of all of those, and they've all been slightly modified, they're simplified, they're trying to be simplified, they're more informative. They are routine throughout. We're trying to keep things all the same, none of the good old boy favors, things like that. And we can supply those very easily to you and give everybody copies and give you whatever time frame you want and put it on the agenda to discuss it if you like it, don't like it. For us, it's made our lives a lot easier, especially dealing with, say, Little League, say adult softball, co-ed softball is a different group now. Everyone's different. Everybody, of course, wants something. And everything is on paper. This is the most discount you can get. This is at our discretion. It lists our responsibilities, their responsibilities. Things were added like when your league is over, your banners come off the fences. They don't hang there till they rot and look bad. You don't store your things in our buildings year round. You store them during your reservation time, then your stuff is gone. A lot of improvements like that. The monetary things were.
None of the fees were changed.
None of the fees were changed? Yeah, I guess it was mostly,
Terminology and
yeah, and
fee
And-
access.
saying, how did you get that field for almost nothing last year? And now you want it again, of course. Well, no, that's all been changed. You're paying at least 50%. You can't get a huge discount. And you put in $3,000, well, we got the same discount if you put in 2,000, but thank you for doing that. It's just all leagues are different and some have money, some don't. So but we've made it across the board the same for everybody. So there's no favoritism and things like that.
My question though is when you get into, trying to think of how to delicately say this. I've been told that when it's a city event, that sometimes things are waived a little bit more on the permits.
It's a huge thing with the council will waive a lot of things.
And I mean, I know one of the things that I was seeing for the major event in Nob Hill, I'm trying to say this respectfully, is like in one spot where it says the number of people you were expecting to put to that NA. And so much of that form at NA. And if it's really, if John Q. Public was doing an event like that, they would have to fill the paperwork out all the way. How is that different than somebody doing something to the city for the city? Shouldn't they have to give us as much detail as John Q. Public would if they're doing something in a city park?
Those are my sentiments exactly. I appreciate that comment, and that has been the subject of my thoughts on this. And so I would love, Buck, if you could please, I'm going to put it on our agenda for the next meeting. If you could please supply us with the updated special use permits and that we can take some time to review them. And then we can have a really great discussion specifically regarding those requirements, the questions being answered, and the fees. And looking currently at what has been the standard process in regards to waiving those fees and whether or not we as a commission would like to recommend any changes to that.
Absolutely, we can provide that, and to try to answer Howard's question without putting myself under the bus. I understand exactly what you're saying, and
I don't want to sound negative, that's.
I'm fine. It's not a perfect world.
Yeah.
Many of those, if not all of what you're discussing decisions are above me.
Mhm.
At a higher grade than I'm at, so
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that's my response to
So
that.
there's a whole other tier in
We
there.
had this discussion and why we weren't included in this discussion previously when you had it. I mean, it's a source of frustration for me is that.
Well,
When we change the forms,
Well, with when you decided to discuss it all, I guess.
well, we gotta draw the line somewhere. We'd have a meeting with 50 people in it, to be honest with you. Yeah, maybe hindsight, we should have at least brought it to you guys.
No, it's just not this particular instance. I mean, it's been a frustration of mine with a lot of these things that they go forward and we find out after the fact.
And I understand that, and I mean, to be quite honest with you, I'm learning this whole process myself, so there's times when I screw up, but. Yeah, and that's things that we need to think about, but, and to be blunt about it, it's kind of frustrating for us too, because it's another meeting, and we just don't have time sometimes to be.
Right.
Honest with you, I mean, but yeah, we can make a better effort, I agree.
I've always thought that there should be some number in there where like if it's only gonna be 100, 200 people for a special use permit or something, that maybe we don't have to be involved. But when you start talking 1,000, 2,000 or more,
Yeah, but then
it's in a park, we should have some discussion and
Keep that in
input.
mind, and after you read this, the documentation we have, we'll discuss those questions when we're all educated on it.
to the process, looking at it first, not making those determinations.
I got,
Then we need to go through that process.
I got a question. And this was just a question. You were saying that the money they get from Halloween Town funds 13 nights.
That's what I've been
So
told.
why couldn't the parks use the money that they get from the permits and stuff? Even if they did, to buy like new equipment when it breaks down, so we don't have to say, yeah, we don't have the money, we can't buy you nothing new.
It goes,
Well,
it goes into an account when the people pay these fees.
But I think it goes to, it don't go to us, it goes to everybody else but us.
Yeah, but yes, also have to think about this maintenance
It
too,
goes
so.
to an account that's labeled as park fees. That's how that's because what it all goes, the only ones that we accept are.
Right, so, okay.
Operations and special use, and it all goes to Parks Department fees.
Okay, the park department fees, where does that money? Is it just sitting in an account? Like if we need new equipment at
You better, I don't know.
I don't know.
Fourth Street Park, something breaks, we can say, hey, we got the money in this account.
I guess would be general.
Yeah, it goes to the general fund,
Yeah.
which you don't get.
Right.
Well, we do get it through the maintenance of the parks too, because that costs money.
It comes back around again.
And it is our responsibility to be mindful when it's time for the next year's budget to advocate for the parks and things that we need. And request that funds from the general fund be utilized for the parks. And so I think this is a really healthy discussion, and I'd really love to break it down, especially regarding the permits, what those fees are, whether or not we're receiving them in full for the different usages. Because I think it would be great to look at whether or not we are receiving what is appropriate, especially when it comes to repairs and whatnot for the parks. And then that way we can request that those funds be utilized for the parks. And so, yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, so I'd really like to discuss that more in full at the next meeting, if that's okay.
So where this all started was.
Yeah, tourism.
Did you start, Jerry?
What you did.
Well, that's a good discussion.
Yeah.
You know. But where this all, started was, it's just because something doesn't bring in a fee at the immediate moment, doesn't mean that it's not tourism. So my point was being, okay, we have an urban trail. People from Portland or the region, they come here and walk the trail. And, they go to the stores and, they go to the roof and, other things, So my point was being that, some of the tourism money that's in the tourism fund, could be used to upgrade some of the parks, i.e. the trail up the cliff, but sign or, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna, we.
Did you ask the tourism committee?
I've always been told on this board, every time I brought up exactly what Jerry does, that tourism does what they want to with their money. And that there really isn't much to be said about it. Tourism does what they do with the money.
Well, and that's why, and I'd really like to express my appreciation for your comments and your sentiments, but also understanding that we've had this conversation before in the past, and you guys are, I agree that also what I have heard is that money is utilized as tourism deems appropriate. And I have mulled this over for the last year, and my best option that I've come up with is to look at these special use permits and make sure that we're getting what we feel is appropriate for the usage of the parks, because it's my understanding that we don't have access to tourism money to utilize for the parks, but it's also under my understanding that we're not receiving permit payments in full for what would be appropriate usage for those special uses. And so this is a great first step to make sure that we are getting funds for the usage that we can knowingly use for the parks. This is the way to do that, in my opinion.
Well, I'm gonna just kind of reiterate what Dana just said, is the example I used was, say, the Wyeth Street Trail. Pretty hard to put a number on, how many people are gonna use that trail and what it's worth to the city. But if you go to like the example that Howard's been bringing up for a few years, people going through Nob Hill Park. My understanding is they have a tram or a train that they bring there. They sell tickets to these people, they use it. And so they're using, a park facility and tourism is getting all the money. At least some of that money should come. Yeah, some of that money should, come to the park to improve the park, because you can pretty well define that. But when you have something, anyway, that's.
Plus ecotourism and that's where ecotourism, what's walking the trails. I'm running into people constantly from Scappoose to Wallaton that are coming out here to walk our trails. So we are generating a lot of ecotourism in the town.
Parks because, or McCormick, because they have lights. The softball guys, we put those lights in.
I just wanted to respond to Buck when you're saying about all the meetings, having more meetings. We can come to you at times too, right, for yours. Just want to put that.
All right. Do you guys require any more discussion on the tourism?
What was the final decision on that discussion, Dana?
What I would like to do is to kind of pause the conversation as it is, bring to the next meeting a full discussion regarding the permits, the special uses, the funds that's acquired, and really looking at that together and making any recommendations from there. And then once we have a better understanding of what funds are either coming in or able to come in that would be acquired through activities in the parks, then we can discuss further. I'd like to try to gain a little bit understanding of how we, I guess that's one part of it. The other part is I don't think I understand how or what your thought process is in regards to retrieving money from, say, tourism for things that don't generate income, right? So that I understand the ecotourism, I understand people coming and utilizing the trails, but if they're not paying fees, then there's no, there's no money then for us to pull from. And so I guess I'm just a little confused and would like to take some time to think about that and then maybe look at other ways that things like ecotourism do bring revenue into the community and whether or not that's the income that we would be able to access.
I mean, with all that we just said, I just gotta say one thing. We are very grateful to Halloween Town for allowing us the use of their restrooms for
Yeah.
That's what I've been told repeatedly, that they do give something back to us by letting us use. So we do get a little bit of return.
And it should be a healthy relationship. We should be working together,
It should be a discussion.
cooperatively. So, all right. Is that okay with you, Jerry?
I'm trying to say this politely because.
Say that again, Dana.
Is that okay for you? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I see, like some things you can well define, like you said, some things you can't.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's could be the discussion next week, how to. Right, yeah, I'm good with the outcome there.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, then moving on to county board commissioners.
Well, this one's pretty easy. Yeah, a little background on this. Last meeting, okay, first of all, the Urban Trail Subcommittee, Commissioner Howard, Lynn, Dana, and myself. And as you know, we've been ongoing various forms of it for the last 3 years. So we had a meeting probably 2 or 3 months ago. And the consensus of the group was that, hey, we've been at this long enough, we want to go ahead and move ahead with the urban trail. We want to do that. And basically, this is a quick review. Dana said that, she'd work with Jennifer for advertisement, that sort of thing. Lynn said that she would work with, to get kiosks and that sort of thing. And myself and Scott and Cass and Howie, and Doug Morton said we donate, well, at least Doug's, and we move forward. Well, the big issue that we ran into is the project that's going on down here on the lower waterfront here. So the subcommittee says, hey, well, even though that's going on, we want to go ahead and move forward. So we proposed a detour around it, and that might have to, be changed a little bit too. So we really want the kiosk to be in back by where the statue of Seaman is. That's where we want the trail to really start eventually. But for the detour, we wanted to start the urban trail at the steps of the old courthouse. And then the trail would end at the steps of the old courthouse. So the trail would basically go by or through Plaza Park. And you'd have to look and see what we proposed last time. So, but this belongs to the county. The Rose Garden and the Plaza Park is county property, not city. So Lynn, basically, I think it's Lynn and I, we talked, and I said, well, I'll go talk to the county commissioners. So I went and I talked to Casey Garrett. And the county commissioner. He was very, very supportive because the Browns Elbert Trail, the county had a lot to do with that. They're expanding that all the way down to Multnomah Channel. he just thinks it's a, that's a good deal. But he really wanted to know what the kiosks look like and all that sort of thing. And so Lynn's been working on several versions of the kiosk. So he told me, he said, well, meet with the county commissioners. And since then, Lynn has talked to him. I've been gone, been really working hard for 2 weeks to even have a day off. And he says this is really a pretty minor deal in his opinion. So my understanding is Lynn and I were going to go meet with him, Lynn.
Yeah, we'll need to meet with him and give him our feedback on what he gave us. So you all don't have a copy of this, but we basically were deciding that because the plaza is so small, if we had a 6-foot kiosk, like what is that, Dalton or Nob Hill, that'd be too much in there. Plus, we're gonna need to move it as soon as they get done with the riverfront project. So we were discussing that, and I think the big thing is getting a grant for the money that is going to be needed, even for a smaller kiosk like this, with our map on it, and I can show you a different rendition of that. But it could have history on it. It could have whatever we want on it. It's about, we thought maybe a 3-foot by 3-foot, 35-degree angle. So it's sitting smaller at maybe a little above waist high that you've probably seen at a lot of other stops and preserves and parks. And this would be done by Pacific Stainless. So they last a long time. The thing is, I was mentioning to him that we'd have to move it. And he says, well, one good thing about this, he says, is we could reuse that again. So the price is a little bit less expensive for something like that, but we'd have to come up with another kiosk when we move to the riverfront. So it's not all, we need the money, And so he sent some renditions here and had a price that came up to about $1,500 for one. And so I have sent all these copies to Howard, to Jerry, and to Dana. I don't know if you saw them yet or not, Dana.
I did, thank you.
Good. And so you find this. They have included in the materials cost the labor hours and equipment hours. So I don't know if, I would like to talk to Public Works and see about installing that ourselves. If once we get the kiosk, and then we can take, that would be $470 off the cost.
That's just the installation of it.
Pardon me?
That's just the installation of it.
That's just the installation, labor hours and equipment hours. And the total came to $1,573. So you take 470 off of that. So anyway, he's got that all laid out for us, how much that would cost. And all we basically need to do is figure out where the money is coming from and exactly what we would like to see. And as I'm talking, I'm trying to find the picture that they gave. It might not be too good. But he gives examples of all kinds of, heritage artifacts on there. You could put, the birds or different species that are in the area, but I don't think we'll be doing something like that. I think mainly a map and maybe some information about why, or we have to come up with that. But here is a 3-by-3 angle of a kiosk, and I'll just pass this around. Look at that, and then we'll just.
Now, if that's going to be a permanent structure there in the courthouse plaza, is that something, it's not going to be, not going to be permanent, okay.
No, one thing he mentioned was what was nice about that structure is that they can reuse it for a different map for someplace else. So my next question would be if that's not permanent and we can't dig that up, so to speak, and put it in the place we want it, then maybe we have to rethink that. I mean, there's a lot of questions that were going through my head.
It'd be so
Right.
easy to.
Yeah, yeah.
Do another part of the trail or
Right.
something.
Right.
The thing that pops in my head is that this isn't gonna be permanent. Why not make it out of wood? It's gonna be really cheap.
That's what I was thinking.
Roger can make that in probably a half hour.
That's right. That's what I was thinking as well.
Probably provide that lumber.
And you could use the same specs.
Have,
So that was what Lynn and I haven't, I've been gone for 2 weeks, got back Saturday. And. You know, I know that Buck said that he would, excuse me, that. The Parks Department would build the kiosk, and I know that this was a lot simpler kiosk in my and I was hoping that. This could be built, you know, and I think it would look good if it was made out of wood too. Because a lot of the expenses here. So when we talked to city county commissioner Garrett. You know, my suggestion is to say, you know. Telling that the city shops or the parks department can build one, and he knows your carpenter, I can't remember his name, but he knew him personally when we were talking about it. Pardon?
Roger Stoffer, yeah.
Roger, yeah, he knew who Roger was. He says, yeah, I know the guy, he does good work and all of that sort of thing.
We can build that in-house, no problem.
Okay,
That's what I think. So we just need to figure out what we're gonna have to display and what it's gonna be on.
What Roger's gonna want is like picture like that and dimensions and it'll be done.
Okay,
Cause I would think we don't even need to mount any concrete, just dig a couple of 1 foot holes, 2 foot holes.
If it was, it's
Slip it in and put gravel.
not big much.
we could take it, and put it in the new spot.
Yeah.
But so we need to discuss what kind of backing we want. I mean, he was suggesting Pacific stainless. But there's other backing you could use that we could research, you know, for putting a map on there and some other wording.
so back, let's say that Roger built it. What would you, I know this is pretty technical, maybe this should be discussed offline, but what do you foresee being on that slant there that would protect it? Just a clear plastic
Well,
thing?
if you look down there where Seaman the dog is, there is one of those down there for that dog that's informative of the history of that dog. And I think something similar to the top of that where it's oh geez, I don't know, it's like a plexiglass almost cover over it and it's like a laminated sheet under it, so it's protected. Something to keep the rain off of it so it looks nice.
You know, on the spot there with the parks department pay for that. The
They're really nice.
you can think about that. I know that's not.
I don't know. Try.
And the laminated.
That right now, I can try to pay for it.
And it wouldn't, I mean, I don't know what the cost, maybe next meeting you could give us a cost on a sheet of that.
If you give me dimensions, I can give you.
I'll send that to him.
Okay,
We can put together a quote and bring it here and you guys will see what materials we have laying around. And what we don't. We might have a sheet of that plexiglass. We have a lot of materials, different spots. I would
it's not super expensive, I would,
look around.
I would be the other person. Okay,
It's not gonna have to be this thick. It's
so I know it's, yeah.
It's
So,
temporary.
so leaving this is mainly for city councilman Sundin, is that. We talked about maybe having that in the Rose Garden or the plaza. And this the county's gonna make that decision. And I think they'll probably go in our favor in one of the two places. I really do, because they're pretty positive about, you know, the trails. But just because this, so if it's just because the county says, okay, we could put a kiosk there. Doesn't mean that, you know, we can start doing the, you know, the trail, you know, the detour and all that. So maybe they may say yes, then eventually all this has to move to the city council and they say, yeah, you guys can go ahead and start installing your concrete markers and your painted markers to mark the trail, and then Dana can go ahead and advertise it and promote it with the city staff, and Lynn's gonna work with Buck for that. So just because the point I'm trying to make is just because the county says this is okay, that's just a portion of the process. Then from there, we probably need to go, Brandon, and move forward to the city.
My question, could we go talk to the city council at a work session? Would that be appropriate to put it on their agenda? And then we could have 10-15 minutes to say, you know, what's the next step? How can we get you guys to sign off on this? Would that be a thought?
Yeah, because they have to sign off on it somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that they're beautiful. If you've ever been up to the CZ Trail, I mean, what they've done up there is just, they're beautiful kiosks. And they are doing that countywide. And he said they're in Rainier, they're working in Cloudskynine. They've got Scappoose covered and the CZ Trail. And the only city that hasn't done this is St. Helens. So I says, well, they're beautiful, but I mean, again, costs money. Yeah.
So once you talk to the county, and kind of get their blessing for the signage and the location that they would be okay with, would you like to then, as you recommended, have a time to meet with city council and express to them kind of the temporary finalized urban trail, considering the construction going on, and get their approval so that we can move forward with the other aspects?
Yes,
What do you think, Brandon?
I think that's-
Would that be the thing for us to go talk to put it on the agenda? Would we be able to have a conversation, the three of us, about the urban trail with them? That would be during the
Once you,
work session.
once you got the counties go ahead and.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering too, I know eventually you're gonna wanna put it down here in Columbia View Park. Have you mentioned that to Jenny now with all the planning that's been going on with the new stage design and all of that that's going on?
I have not, and I can be honest, I've been meaning to do that for a long time, and I have not brought that up.
I think we've raised it. You know.
I think that might be an important thing to do too.
and the other person we really talked to is we talked to Bach, and I think there's some rhododendrons down there that are gonna be removed. And he says, I put words in your mouth now, Bach, but basically Bach said that he didn't think that the rhododendrons may be removed, but that was not going to be disturbed in the development of the new park. So we could put it there and
Right, that was kind of my suggestion on that, and I still don't know that 100%, but again, I've dropped the ball on
I
that.
read it for Bach to,
And I'll get a hold of engineering Sharon and Jenny in the near future and go it in their head and see what they come up
but
with.
see, the kiosk down there. I was told that it'd probably be a year and a half before. The big problem we have is crossing Plymouth Street down at the south end. Because it's close and all the construction here. So I was told that we'd probably be not this fall, but the following fall before, we could, move through the whole thing.
Right. So I would urge you to go with this temporary setup that you have now. Focus solely on that, because I know you really want to get this thing open and
Yeah.
get all moving. And then, I mean, I will ask about this in the.
But the point, I guess I didn't say this very,
First.
I don't think I said this very clearly, once, it'll be a year and a half before everything's done. And then at that time, Buck can look at it, in the subcommittee, and he can say, okay, this is where it should go down here now.
And get Jenny.
When it's all, when the thing's all done, I can't help but think there will not be room down there for a kiosk. Especially behind the stage back there someplace.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a really great idea. I would love to,
It'll fit behind the stage. It's pretty close to the.
Any chance,
You have a comment from online from your last subject.
any chance we could use the tourist funds to help maintain our disc golf course? The course is the fastest growing sport. The city could greatly benefit from tourism or tournaments and sponsorship.
That would be a question for the tourism committee, wouldn't it?
Cause that's another group I would love to have a report from to be is the disc golf course people. We haven't
Well,
seen them in here in years to talk
like I've
about
been,
what.
like I've been saying for
plans are.
months, yeah, and months, we need baseball fields too.
Yeah.
But when we were down there cleaning up, there were a lot of disc golf players down there.
Well,
They do a lot of work out there. I mean, I promise you that. They.
we're losing kids to other cities because we don't have fields.
Have you been out identifying places for fields?
You don't have no money to even buy a field or afford a field.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing to do is identify some place and then try to get money for that place.
That he responded with, we are busy.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I said they do a little.
I think it responds to come down here.
Yeah.
You know, we're working on the bond just passed now. We're gonna get turf at the high school finally, so. I guess everybody can just use the high school field,
Mhm.
but in the meantime,
Well, and I think that's something that we can look at also when we're discussing those special use permits, because things like the disc golf tournaments, I'm assuming they have to have permits for those events. And again, we can look at the costs of those and where those funds are going and whether or not it's an appropriate amount of funds and how we could potentially utilize them. So I would like to discuss that along with our conversation at the next meeting on special use permits.
Mhm.
All right. So Jerry, regarding the commissioners and meeting with them and chatting, again, I love that. That's great. I was very hopeful to hear back on what they have to say regarding the signage and location. And I think it's a really great idea to move forward with that and then bring the temporary path plan to city council after you've talked with the county commissioners, and then we can hopefully make some more steps forward on the urban trail.
Okay, we'll probably do most of that.
And one thing that Casey said was because he's in charge of all the parks for the county and his projects, that we wouldn't have to go before the commissioners, but we could go through him.
Oh,
Because
wonderful.
You would bring it before the commissioners because it's not a large item. You know, that
Awesome.
you would let them know all about it and bring that forward.
That's nice.
That's awesome. Okay. Any more discussion on the board commissioners? County? Okay. If not, then I'd like to discuss a little bit about Citizens Day in the Park. It's coming up real soon, you guys. Is everyone excited?
Yeah.
Excited.
Yep.
Okay, so who, just as a final kind of head count, who all is planning on attending that day?
I am.
I'm gonna be a floater in between the watershed council and the parks.
I'll be there this Lynn.
it all
Okay.
depends if I have to work or not.
Jerry, I'm planning on being there.
Are there
And I'll-
times that you're looking for, or is it?
Well, I plan on being there the entire time.
Me too.
And I think the more people that we have there to show support for the commission would be great. It's nice to have a head count ahead of time so that I can notify of a possible quorum. That way we're staying.
Okay, and I'll be bringing the canopy and a table.
Oh, thank you so much, Lynn. So Lynn has a canopy and a table.
I'm gonna bring a display board with maps of the urban trail, so people can look at the
Oh, I
proposed.
love that.
And I'll be doing the same for Dalton Preserve.
And even if I'm not there, can I give you guys my little laminated copy of the map of Snobville? I got a spare.
Yes, please.
I think last year everyone kind of brought their own camping chairs too, so bring a chair just to make sure you have a seat.
Good point.
Now, Brandon, was it you who brought those fun facts last year?
You have that, and if you want that again, I can see if I can dig that up.
Can we please? That was so fantastic.
So Dana, that's, Howard told me that it was June 24th from 10 to 2.
Okay,
Is that correct?
I believe so. I can pull it right up in my email real quick.
It says it's correct.
Okay,
So I think we probably will have issue with the quorum.
okay, great. So all I have to do, I think, is notify Kathy. And so can I make that official request now, Melissa, that we notify Kathy of the possible quorum at the Citizens Day?
Send it out.
Thank you.
10 to 2, I'll be at work.
All right.
Since we're on Citizens Day, can I make a request that's coming from the Citizens Day committee that I'm on to you guys? We were hoping that you guys would be able to have a sign-up sheet. What it is the TMDL project that engineering is doing. It has to do with mercury and stormwater, things like that, where it's a huge thing. We're required to do an event, and the event that we've kind of chosen is to pick a park or parks sometime during the year for an event and do a big cleanup, a walkthrough, have a work party like you guys do. And we were hoping that you could have a sign-up sheet for citizens to sign up at your booth for that if they have interest. It can be just something very simple that you just take a name and a phone number if they show an interest in wanting to help with our parks. I know a lot of people want to volunteer. That would be greatly appreciated if you could do that.
That's what we should do with that, all of our parks for the.
I agree. I think it's a good idea.
Asking people to sign up, be on the mailing list.
Yeah, that's it. Can there be like a mailing, email mailing list? We have them put their email down, and then if we were having a
Sure, we
volunteer
can set up.
to a party.
Get the information, then we'll set something up and I know people that want to volunteer, they're just looking for events, so.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I would love to have that there. And I think that's part of that recruitment process too, recruiting not only, new parks commissioners, but a larger volume of volunteer base. I think that's fantastic.
This is just an idea, but just thinking too. Somewhere in the future, we just put a little sign in each one of the parks that said, if you're interested in volunteering in the parks. It has the number for the parks office, just one more thing for people to see, people that are at the parks.
That's a good idea, because we have those, I don't know if you see them, we have them at Campbell, we have them at McCormick, they're like mini. Not really a kiosk, but it's a 4x4 with a slide, and you open it up and put advertisements in there for things, and most of it's used for recreation projects in the city. We could put a little sign in one of those that's there every day, all day for people to read. I never thought of that. So that's something simple we can maybe put in there.
Oh, great. Yeah. Can we do that? I think that's awesome.
We can make that happen.
Sweet. Okay. Any other comments or discussion? I'm so excited for Citizens Day. I had a lot of fun last year. I look forward to hanging out with you guys and enjoying the beautiful park and yeah, I think that's great. Any other discussion?
Does somebody have the Parks and Trails Commission banner? Do you have that, Lynn? Lynn's got it.
Oh. All right, and you're gonna bring that
Put
then?
that in front of the table.
Safe commercial trails.
Or essential.
Okay, awesome. And perfect. Okay, so that's all I had for Citizens Day. You guys answered all of the questions I had in my mind, so thank you. And if you guys are good, we can move on to 6th Street Park.
I really don't have much on it. I drove by the other day, there was some kids playing, ball on the field still. But other than that, there's, the park, baseball season's over, winding down, so the fields are gonna be used a lot less now. 6th Street Park only has the 2 fields and that's it.
Yeah,
6th Street Park.
You can comment on 6th Street Park.
I'd love to comment on 6th Street Park. So first, I would like to thank the Little League for the product they put on the field on West Street. It looks a lot better. So that was a good thing, and Little League is showing a lot of interest in improving our fields, which is nice. And one thing I wanted to bring up was we are thinking of the field that's on the 7th Street side. I guess that would be south. Really the less used field has an old grass infield. It's hard for us to maintain. It's in poor shape. I would like to scrape the whole top of all that grass off and make it a dirt infield. It's easier to maintain. I think it would be a nicer field for kids to play on. It's just never been properly taken care of. So I don't know if you guys have any issue with the removal of the grass in the infield.
You're a bald guy.
So Mark, I want to let you know that when I was
Yeah.
the head soccer coach, that's where we played our home games. And I was the one who took the dirt field and I had permission. And I planted that grass there. That grass was planted there, I don't know,
It's a good,
30 years ago.
it's a good concept, but it's just, the kids are just running around in ruts because it's just,
Well, for soccer, it wasn't, the dirt field wasn't quite conducive,
and well.
but they don't play at their home game.
Soccer fields shouldn't even touch those infields now. But there is.
We're talking years ago.
There is another group that has contacted me that is showing a ton of interest in using 6th Street Field for soccer. They want to use it for soccer again, and I don't know which age groups. I have the guy's information. Sorry, I don't remember exactly what his name is. I don't want to butcher it right now. But they are showing interest, and so that's good. They have questions about putting their paint down for their fields and goals and things like that. So I think personally, it'd be nice to see that part being used for soccer. It was always soccer when I was a kid. And yeah, Bart Steele with Scappoose Soccer Club or Columbia County.
Columbia County United.
Soccer, something like that. Anyway, so there's interest there, so. Other than that, I think it looks better with the trees trimmed now away from the backstop over there. I'd like to do the rest of the trees. It's just a financial thing.
I was gonna compliment, I drive by there almost every day and those trees are looking so much nicer. So thank you so much for that.
There's still concrete on left or right field on the 6th Street field.
Where the old drinking fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to remove that.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Locates for it, but then the ground was too wet to get equipment out there to pull it out. And now we just don't have the time right now, but that is on our radar to be removed.
I think that has the potential to be a good ball field for anyone that wants to play.
Yeah, and I think with the way Little League is putting money into fields now, I think you'll see an increase in the next couple of years in the use of those fields and the quality of them.
So it's not, I know like before spring hits, you go through there and the whole infield is just.
Yeah, that field holds so much water too. It's the drainage in it. It has 2 spots that's terrible. It is what it is.
So is removing the grass then going to be make any a bit of an issue with the poor drainage? Is it gonna impact that?
Is it gonna be what? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, so you were mentioning how the field has very poor drainage and you were requesting removing the scraping off the grass and having it be a dirt infield. Is that going to impact the drainage at all?
Really where the infields are, the drainage is better. There's the real soft spots are in the outfields. I don't think it'd affect a lot, especially if we put the material like we put on field number 2 at McCormick. Put that on there, that material drains so much nicer and it's better.
Could you like plug it on maybe too?
Yeah, we could. The problem is it goes from so wet to.
It's so rock hard, yeah.
Immediately, and it's like, okay, can we get a spring, please? I mean, it's from.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
What I'm hearing is that Jacob's kind of reticent about taking out the grass there.
I have mixed feelings on it. Maybe, do dirt lines.
Yeah, we can look at both things. I'm just saying that this is something that's been.
I just think if you take the grass, how you just turn it from a baseball field to a softball field.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
Is there a difference between a softball field
Absolutely.
has dirt in the middle and a
Absolutely.
baseball field has grass in the middle?
Yes.
We have a.
Yeah, I never realized there were so many varieties of fields for all of these different things. It sounds like there must be, what, 5 or 6 different types of baseball fields,
No, not really. It's
softball, baseball,
Yeah, softball and baseball are different.
junior.
That's
Little
base
league.
pass and.
Each one of those means a different size field and.
Well, we have a request from Nick here. He wants to post volunteer signs at the disc golf course. And he only has currently 3 people maintaining the course. I guess I'll throw an answer out there, what I think. I don't have an issue with it as long as it's not put up in a tacky manner or in a weird spot.
Or on a tree.
Yeah. Not a big spike in a tree or anything like that. I guess what I would request would be draw something up or find a picture of something that you like at another park that you think you could put up and either show it to me or show it to this committee for approval and go from there.
Seems like somewhere around their big sign there by the parking lot would be
Yeah.
a nice spot.
Okay, awesome. Do you have anything more to say on 6th Street before we move on?
I do not.
Okay, Buck, are you done with your
Good.
portion? Okay, thank you. All right, so any old business?
Yeah, I wanted to touch base again about the memorial at Franklin Park. Last time I wasn't that articulate, hopefully this time I am. What I would like to see there, if we're gonna have a memorial, to actually have a memorial, define what it is, have, you know, some type of standardization for it. And a procedure to be able to, for people to go through, and the cost and, you know, everything associated with it. So it's pretty fair. If we're voting on these on an individual basis, it could become exclusive. And I just want to make sure that it's, you know, available for everybody. And by doing a procedure for having a process, that would negate that altogether. So that was my concern.
So you're saying kind of standardize it for every citizen.
Yeah, have a procedure in place. Or, you know, and first this body would have to define the memorial itself, the extent of it, the duration of it, because I mean, if you get so many people there with plaques, it's gonna get filled up. And then it's not fair to people down the line, so you'd have to have some type of time limit for it, I would think. I mean, those types of things would have to be discussed. Just going forward, that's, I just wanted
Now you're talking about like over by, Rachel's Park.
to, yeah, where the benches are, there's a couple plaques.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
eventually we're gonna have a huge river walk where we probably, if that area got filled up, we could pick another little spot along.
Yeah, but I
That
mean,
huge amount of area where there'd be plenty of room for another small little plaque area for.
yeah, but we just need to define the areas.
Yeah.
And then standardize it.
Yeah.
And put in a procedure so it's equitable to all.
Is that something that you would be interested in researching and kind of putting together and bringing back to us at the next meeting?
Not really. I'm just saying that, you know, it isn't my project. I'm just pointing out the issues I had the last time we met about not anything to do with Buck or his family. That just what stood out to me if we continue with the way that we're doing it.
Well, I appreciate your comments. I, for one, personally really love when there's something that you either have contention with or that you disagree with, or there's a problem, you see a problem, and you'd like it to be brought forward and attended to. You know, bringing a possible solution along with that problem is super, super helpful. And so if you would like to see those things happen, it would be us individually or as a group champion and to make those things happen. And so if it's something that you feel very strongly about, I would recommend, taking the time, finding out exactly what you feel would meet those needs for you, and then bringing it back to us as an agenda item on one of the future meetings.
Well, I think I've kind of outlined what, would be needing to be done for any type of memorial. Have to define an area there, standardize it and establish a procedure. We can discuss further, put it on an agenda and go from there and then make a recommendation to the council, but, we could all do that together.
I have some ideas for that when the time comes.
I do too.
Yeah, so go ahead and add that on, then next month when she's asking for, agenda items, go ahead and put that on there then, and let's have a good discussion about it. And then if we as a commission feel it's appropriate to move forward and make those actions, then we can make a plan of action.
Okay,
So everyone in the next month should try to get down there and take a look at the end down there where it is, so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Careful of not crowding too much in one space,
Yeah.
because I know of two different areas, not here in the city, but where people want to donate benches, but they have them spread out throughout the reserve. And also there's one down at the coast. And if they put too many more in, it's going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but then it's not fair for the other people who,
It can get to be too much.
and it's not fair for other people who have people pass and they want to memorialize them, so. So those are
And they can
issues
be-
that we have to address going forward.
all right. So are you okay adding that in so we can have a full discussion about it at the next meeting? Scott?
Excuse me?
Sorry, are you okay then moving forward and adding that in as an agenda item for the next meeting so we can discuss it more fully?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, anything further? Any old business? Okay. As far as action items, does anyone have any action items for this meeting?
I have something that I want to bring up, that the city council recently passed a code of conduct. And we are to read that and then sign that, and I'm guessing send that into Kathy Kane. So did anybody get that and read it? And
I just read through the updated one because I got an email saying that the one that posted originally was incorrect. So I just saw that this morning, the updated version. I did read through it, but I have not gotten a chance to sign it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything official that says we have to sign it at this time, so I was been waiting. Don't they have to do 2 or 3 readings on this also? Before it actually becomes a rule, so.
Finalized Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, okay.
Yes,
so
it was
let us know the time frame on when we have to sign it, I would imagine.
Has it been sent to you?
Nope.
I assume it would be.
yeah, Kathy somehow. And it says any board member declining to sign the code of conduct certification may be removed from the book.
Maybe.
And any
They
board
get sent
member
out.
who is removed under this provision will not be permitted to be appointed to a city board for a period of 5 years,
Seen the formal version of this.
unless a majority of the city council establishes an exception.
Yeah, it's just like
Thoroughly,
being appointed anyway.
Several times.
Anyway.
see what it has to say, because
But there are, I was there at the work session. If you walked in and asked, to have it delayed, so we could discuss it and ruminate about it. And I guess my plea went unheeded. And it's kind of hypocritical because in that particular document, it says, have the public, listen to the public and give them due consideration and have them involved. And this, I feel, is the antithesis of that. And I'm looking at Brandon's word nay on this thing, along with Patrick.
So Melissa, do we sign these and then send them to you or just send them directly to Kathy? Have not heard.
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything official that we have to sign them at this minute yet. They haven't
I don't think they're.
published it.
Well, as soon as it's ready, they'll let you know about it, but I was gonna mention this during my counselor's report, but I can mention it now too, that I agreed that so it was my wish that this would have come to the boards and commissions first before it officially went through. And that was outvoted, so there were some corrections, some additions made that I do feel more comfortable with, so I think both Scott and Lynn voiced some concerns with a lack of due process. So if somebody's accused of something, they can be removed, and there was no process for them to come and give their side of the story. And so there was provisions added for that they can go and there's a process to where there's communication. And
last fall, I was accused of some things and I asked for clarification and never got it. And I received some very nasty text messages from people saying that they were going to carry it to the next step. And I said, I'm not even in the park today. We're getting reports of you doing
that
that.
was added, that there is a process now to where if somebody's accused of something, there will be not a formal hearing, but a meeting with the parks liaison and then with another member of the city council, the council president, I believe, so that they're but yeah, it passed Wednesday, so it was a 3-2 vote.
So we should wait till this coming Wednesday, get the final.
Yeah, I would, like I say, as soon as I'm sure it's ready, I'm guessing they'll send it out to you. I'm not sure how it'll be made available, but if it'll be a physical copy or what, but I'm sure they won't just leave you hanging.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with you that it is a better iteration, this one.
I like it better than what I saw initially.
Yeah. But there's still things that could be desired in that thing. That I'm not really happy about.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the staff report.
Guess that's me. So now, so let's see. We had a bunch of trees trimmed at Campbell Park, which our crew did ourselves. That turned out pretty good, I think. I think most people were pretty pleased with it. We cleared away from a lot of the lights for the ball fields and the backstops. It all went pretty smooth. It was great that the PUD came and disconnected the power to all the lights for us for free, and they put it back on as soon as we were done, so we didn't interrupt any softball. So thank you to the PUD for that. We plan on doing a lot more tree trimming in the park, kind of the same concept with our lift, so we can trim everything up high. I did notice that the trees at Campbell, going back to the playground, those, I don't know if you've been back there, those trees are hanging so low now that I'm at the top of my pickup driving through there. I don't know if it's all the wind or they're just getting so big that they are really low. So that's kind of in our eyes to get done as time permits. As we talked about, the 6th Street trees were trimmed away from the backstop and cleaned up quite a bit. We have had some camping issues in McCormick Park as of lately. One was a tent back on the disc golf trail. Another was camping right on the verge of library to park property lines. The gentleman in the tent was very nice. The police came out, looked everything over and thanked them for that. And he carried on and moved out. It wasn't with no big to do. The only damage that we saw done was it appeared that he had been spray painting something red and it was hanging it in the trees when he painted it. So some of the tree limbs were painted red. Kind of strange. The other gentleman that was camping didn't really want to leave. He was pretty hesitant. I'm not sure if the police ever did talk to him. I know I stopped and talked to him and told him he can't camp in the parks. It's illegal to stay the night in the parks. He understood that. With a little coaxing, he moved most of his stuff. We did have to throw a bunch of trash away that he left there, unfortunately, but he's not at the park anymore. I'm just afraid with these new laws that. Hoping things don't go crazy in our parks or anywhere else in our city, but. A whole other huge topic. Vandalism, lots of that still. We're having lots of our stop signs, our no parking signs. The whole post, everything ripped out of the ground, mostly at McCormick Park. They pull them out of the ground, we'll find them in random areas in the creek or wherever. It's pretty constant and a lot of graffiti. I don't know where these people get all their paint. When I buy paint, it seems expensive, but they sure have a lot of it. So we're constantly fighting that. Another vandalism report was the roofing on the restrooms in between the ball fields at McCormick Park. We came to work after, I believe it was after a weekend, and the garbage cans were on the roof. Well, and then they peeled the shingles off the roof down to where the roof's going to leak and threw them all over the place. So we have ordered roofing and are going to be repairing that. Again, it's nonstop, and the police have been making more rounds in our parks, which I'm thankful for that. I wish they could do it even more, but I understand their time frames. But it does make a difference when they drive through. I can watch the people in our park and go, there's a cop, he's gonna turn the corner, and when he does, boy, they change a lot. I mean, it does make a difference, so thank you to the police department for that. And as you know, the gazebo roof was rotten and it's gone now, right down here at Columbia. So that was a huge topic. We found it out the day before 13 nights opening night. Roger and I were down inspecting the decking, see if there's any rot in it, and we're looking at it. Roger says, does this look off to you? The top of it sunk 10 inches. The whole thing was ready to fall forward. So we made the decision with John Walsh, our building inspector, myself, and Roger, that it was unsafe, and so we roped it off for the first night, so it wasn't that pretty for him. And then the next week, we cut the whole top off, rebuilt the whole deck, put a handrail on it, so it can be used for now, and as we know, in September, it will be tore down anyway, so we didn't want to invest a bunch of money in it. But it's useful now, it still has the power to it, all of the reservations that we have for that area. Melissa has talked to everybody that's reserved it and everyone seems fine with it. So that all went pretty smooth. And about the only other thing is we did purchase paint. And it's quite a bit of paint for all the buildings in McCormick Park, our concrete restrooms to paint all the fascia boards and the doors themselves. They're all going to be the same color, paint all the buildings at Campbell Park so that they're all fresh. We're gonna repair the siding on them, paint them. They'll all be the same. We'll have the same exact paint. So if someone graffitis it, we can paint over it. It won't look like little splotches of different colors everywhere. It should clean things up quite a bit. I'm hopeful for that. Other than that, we got mow, weedy.
Just don't have the sewage treatment plant, Rick Gordini on one of those.
Yes, we went down and looked at trying to get it off of there, and we're gonna have to paint the whole wall. 'Cause someone was pretty aggressive on that one, so. That's about all I got.
Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. I can definitely see, some beautiful improvements, especially with those trees. And I look forward to the restrooms and other buildings being painted. It's going to be so nice.
Oh, and we did, sorry, I guess I wasn't finished. We did get the snap board for Nob Hill Park for the bench. Bench will be installed shortly. And we did get another bench for Dalton Lake delivered to us. And that will be being installed shortly. So things to come.
Yay.
What shingles did you order?
Right?
What shingles? did you
We're putting stuff on it.
order? You're putting- Malarkey.
Oh, yeah.
You got your shingles.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Let's go to the counselor's report.
Not a lot to report this time. Just want to thank Buck's crew for getting the memorial cleaned up for Memorial Day. It looked great. Thank this group for the work parties that you've been doing. I know there was one on Saturday, so thank you for that. And Nick is here too. Thank him for him and all the other volunteers that work to keep our parks clean, whether it's the disc golf course or wherever it might be. A lot of people do a lot of work in the parks and it's appreciated. Our parks are being used, so I've been spending a lot of time in the parks lately with softball and other things, and softball fields are busy and playgrounds are busy, and there's birthday parties going on at the shelters, so lots of stuff going on in the park, so it's nice to see them being used and maintained and kept up as best we can. Along with that, Lynn brought it to my attention, I haven't been over there for a few weeks, that the Japanese garden, the area where we worked, is the blackberries are coming back with a vengeance, yeah, so they're quickly coming back, so I think Lynn talked to you, Buck, and you might help us out there with some spraying and make sure it doesn't get overwhelming again. Let's see what else. I think we talked about the code of conduct, so I guess that's it really. Just thank you guys for all your work and all you do and stuff that we hear about here, but also all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't hear about.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Any discussion items?
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, so I received an email from Kathy Searstad, the Lions Club St. Helens. And I just want to say that she gave you a compliment, Buck. She said somehow somebody pulled off on something that was anchored with a rebar on their exercise equipment over there. And she says, I sent the picture to Buck and heard back right away that they would take care of it. And he included a very nice thanks to the Lions for our efforts. So she was really happy about that. And then another thing is, she says, at the entrance to Nob Hill, they have a sign that says caution poison oak. And she was wondering if another sign like that could be placed at McCormick Park. So there's a lot of poison.
Have a location, because it's in several locations.
I could ask her to email you.
Kathy deserves the thanks too, along with Jim. I see them walking through the parks and they've always got a trash bag and picking up garbage.
They do more than parks. They go all the way out to the library. They're all over. They do
You
a
know,
lot.
I updated her on the cleanup at Dolan. I said I took a big wet rag and I wiped off all the benches, and cleaned them up. And she was so happy. Her and Jim were happy to hear that because they were gonna go out and do that.
Oh,
I'm sorry, clarify, they asked for a poison oak sign
Yes,
at where?
a poison, at McCormick Park.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you. It says caution poison oak.
Still learning.
awesome. Okay, any other discussion items?
Real quick, I'll just give update on Nob Hill. Like Buck said, he got the slab in. I put gravel in there for that. I've been doing more trail mowing and stuff in there. I'll put it back in there probably this weekend and touch everything up again. So I've gotten a lot of the trails in Nob Hill with the cutting the grasses back and stuff. There's still a couple of trails where Caroline really doesn't want me to quite widen them. So yes, they are narrow for now, but the Camas in the next month will be turning more of their seed heads, and we hate to mow that area because there's Camas right along the sides of the trail that if you destroy it too quickly, the seeds won't spread and make more Camas. So that's why a few of the trails may be another 2 or 3 weeks before they really get widened out, but it's on the agenda. So I think that's it for now.
Awesome. Okay, anything else? All right, without anything else, I just want to give a big thanks to all of you. I appreciate this commission so much, and each of you work so hard in your individual and collective ways. I really do see the parks really thriving right now, and it brings me a lot of joy. So thank you all so much for all your hard work. And that is it for the day. We can call it adjourned.
All right. Thank you.
Dana?
You and I will talk about how a little bit more detail.